Definitely not therapy. Welcome to another episode of Definitely Not Therapy. And I can't stress this enough, it's definitely not therapy. I'll be talking to a completely different stranger in every single episode. Real people with real stories, unfiltered discussions surrounding men's mental health and all the other things that people just don't like to talk about. How we completely fall apart at the seams. How we feel like there's no coming back from whatever we're going through. And the fact that when we're in that moment, we become the most selfish person on the planet. Of course we do, because we think the world is against us. We feel like this cannot possibly happen to anyone else, but it does happen to other people, and worse things happen to other people. So we're here to explore that, and we're here to talk to the people that have been through that and see how they actually did pick themselves up, get through it, and how they're now thriving. Oh, what's that? You're looking to renovate your home? Well, luckily, this week's episode of Definitely Not Therapy is sponsored by Bell Trades. Need a new kitchen? Or do you need a new bathroom? Bell Trades is the place to go. They're the people to use. They're trusted. They're fully insured. They cover Kent and South East London. Why don't you go and check them out on Instagram? It's at bell__trades. Or go to their website, www.belltrades.co.uk. Quality kitchens, quality bathrooms, quality home renovations. Their mission is to turn your house into a home that you're proud of. And as Bell Trades would say, because home isn't just where you live, it's how you live. And if it is just a niggle at the moment, in the back of your mind, you think, oh, I would like a new kitchen. Dan, now you've said that, I would like a new bathroom that would become the centerpiece of our beautiful home. Contact Bell Trades. They'll come out, they'll give you a quote. What have you got to lose? But thank you, Bell Trades, for sponsoring Definitely Not Therapy. In this episode, I'll be talking to AD. AD spent 12 years in the military serving for his country. Firstly, anyone who serves in the military or for the armed forces or for the police or for the NHS or for the Navy or the army or the lifeguard, you should all be incredibly proud. But I think we can't underestimate how stressful some of those jobs can be. But for AD, 12 years took its toll. He hit breaking point with severe anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and that become his daily battle. Imagine having the battle with yourself on a daily basis about not wanting to be here anymore. And I can assure you that is incredibly exhausting. It is draining. And you get to a point where you just feel like actually there's no other way out. But AD is here to tell you there is another way out. Of course there's another way out. There's a much better way out. He turned his pain into a purpose. And that purpose was becoming a mindset coach that helps men. It helps men to talk, to speak up. His motto is helping men to drop the mask, getting them to embrace their emotions and getting them to really build from within. Sorry, I am just going to cut in. Sorry about that. So hang on. Sorry. I'm just going to cut in here just before you listen to this episode. I have to apologise. Listen, I'm not a technical genius. I will admit that. A couple of things before you listen to this episode. Don't judge me. First of all, I selected the wrong output. Okay, so that meant that half of this audio, I think, was just recorded from the speakers in my laptop into this microphone. Well done, Dan. Brilliant. Second of all, someone in the street just decided that they're going to lawnmower the entire street. So, and I was trying to figure out, so you might see me a bit like, where is that? I couldn't figure out if it was on his end, my end. It was my end. And someone was, so apologies for the background noise. Also, because I'm not technically gifted with any of this stuff, I don't know how to block out that noise. I don't put a muffler on that. Do I do that? Is that what I do? Someone help me. I don't know. Anyway, please don't let that take away from the message and from AD's story, because that's the most important thing about these podcasts, is spreading awareness, talking about our problems, talking about how we got through them and helping other people. So I don't know what all the hand gestures are, but anyway, please stick with it. It's a really good episode. AD's a lovely guy. Just give it a listen. Who cares if the audio is not perfect? Do you know what? I'm not Hollywood. I'm not in a studio in Hollywood. I'm in my garage. This is definitely not therapy. definitely not therapy. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Bit nervous. I think I reached out to you, didn't I? And I was like, he's not going to bloody see this. He's got enough followers. But we are where we are. Do you know what I mean? It's the first kind of big-ish podcast that I've done. You're definitely the most well known. So,
well, listen, absolutely don't be nervous. If anything, I'm more nervous than you. Just pretend it's not being recorded for millions of people to see.
Don't say that now.
No, I'm joking. About 12 people will watch it, probably. Don't worry about it. It's definitely not therapy. Welcome onto the podcast, AD. Thank you for joining me, mate.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm excited to have you on, and I'm excited. I say excited, obviously. I shouldn't use the word excited. Like, I'm keen to hear your story. It's never exciting talking about some of the stuff that we're probably going to go into and the depths of depression and anxiety. But I am excited to hear your story of how you got out of that. And, you know, the whole point of the podcast is to spread awareness for mental health, men's mental health, and to look at how we do perhaps fall apart at the seams and implode and whatever it might be. And as men, don't talk, and how that can, you know, really kind of, if you bottle something up, it's at some point it's got to come out. And for some men, it's obviously worse. So I really want to help spread awareness with this pod, and hopefully someone else will be sitting there now and they'll be hopefully relating to your story, AD, where they can say, well, that's me right now. That's how I feel. And they can look at where you've come and how you've come out of that. And that will hopefully help. And that's all I want from this pod. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for, you know, wanting to tell your story and be so open about it. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
So start at the beginning then, if you can, AD. You know, when you was a child, what did you want to be? I mean, this is a leading question because I know that you was in the military, but what did you want to be when you grew up, and what was your childhood like?
So actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to have two jobs. I wanted to be a police officer, and then I wanted to be a bank robber on the other side as well. So then I could then get myself out of that rubbish and get myself out of prison. But what I did in the end was I became a bricklayer. I did a bricklaying apprenticeship. That wasn't really tickling my fancy. It wasn't really getting to me. So I thought, you know what? As I was working at Tesco one day, I moved on to Tesco from bricklaying. And there was a careers office, a military careers office opposite Tesco. I thought, you know, I'll give it a go. So I went over, did what's called the BARB test, which is kind of your aptitude test as you go in.
Yeah.
And I scored really well. So actually what I did was I went back to when I was a child. I was like, well, what do I want to be when I was a kid? Well, I want to be a police officer. So I decided to join the Royal Military Police.
Okay.
And
a robber, though. Don't forget that you did want to be a robber. So was you also planning some big heist and thinking, okay, but I can also get out of this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not at that point, no. I've kind of grown up by that point, I think.
Fair enough. And you probably have to say that now, didn't you? Yeah.
So yeah, I joined in 2011, November 2011, and I was 19. Yeah, I joined when I was 19. Spent a year in training, phase 1 and phase 2, so kind of basic military soldiering training, and then 6 months of military policing training down in Portsmouth. And then I went over to Germany. In that period of time, I'd got married, I'd had a baby, I had my firstborn son in that period of time as well. So it was a busy period for sure.
You had it all going on, yeah.
So we kind of moved as a young married couple. We moved across Europe and across to Germany for a couple of years. And it was amazing. It was really good. But there was always that kind of thing in the back of my mind, in that I didn't feel good enough, I didn't feel worthy, I was kind of anxious. I didn't know it at the time, but I was definitely depressed. I've never been clinically diagnosed. That's probably one of my own kind of stigmas, I would say, in that I was never clinically diagnosed with depression. But I definitely wore that mask.
Can I just ask you a question? So where you say that you didn't feel like you were good enough, was that, do you mean in your career or in your marriage or as a dad, or like just a combination?
I think it was a combination, but I think I did what most men do, and I pushed myself into work. I was working 16, 17, 18 hour days. I was intentionally staying at work because that's how I masked my feelings, my emotions. I didn't have to go home to all of that pressure, all that stresses and strains, being a new father. like I'm sure you're well aware, them challenges as a new father, are you doing the best thing by your kids? And because I'm spending more time away, that only compounded.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, yeah, I mean, I can relate to that 100%. It's, I mean, it's hard. The pressures of just being a dad, especially a new dad, and not to listen. This I don't want this to come across like I'm comparing mums to dads or men to women, but I watched a documentary on this where when a mother, and this isn't just human mums, this is just nature. When mum gives birth, there's a chemical release in their brain, and they just are equipped with, they have superpowers basically. Whereas men, I have to try really, really hard I don't want to say try really hard to be a good dad, because I think every dad wants to be a good dad, but it doesn't come as naturally to me. Like when I was younger, I just never thought I would have a child anyway. So when little Harper come along, yeah, it's terrifying. And we rely so much on, well, outside noise, I guess, giving us tips, and also the other half. And then we feel, well, I felt less and less important because I didn't know what I was doing. I was relying on everyone else and everything else. So, yeah, I can completely relate to that.
I think that's it. I think it is the mother's instinct, isn't it? I know there's a lot of noise currently online. I think you're right to point out that it's not them against us. It's not women against men. I spoke to someone the other week, and I said it's all about uniting instead of dividing. I think there's a massive divide currently between men and women. Rightly, wrongly, both sides of the coin. We can be bad at times, but then the flip side is the same. So, but women know for sure, 100%, that baby pops out and they're on it, right? They know what they're doing. Yeah. Whereas we're like, oh, how do I hold this baby? Where do I put my hand? Where do I do this? Where do I do that? How do I change
naturally know? They naturally know everything, and and also they naturally like have all this energy, and you think, where is this? I would be absolutely knackered and just need a nap. And I remember, like my Harper's mum it'll be late and she'll still be getting up, she'll still be doing all the jobs. I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, I've literally have nothing left. But they do it because it's their child, and they I don't know. It's science, mate. I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult. You'll never understand it.
So you was at a point then when you were feeling not good enough.
Yeah, and I think so. It was. I didn't realise what it was at the time. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just knew that I wasn't feeling that good enough. I used to, in my teenage years and going into my, when I got with my current missus, I used to just flip between girlfriend to girlfriend to girlfriend. I was never single for that period of time. I always needed something. I was always looking for external validation.
Yeah.
And I think working with men now, as I do, I actually see the same things, see the same patterns emerging, and it is that external validation, because we don't feel like we're enough, because either society doesn't tell us enough, or we're just not in tune with our emotions, and we're not given that ability, that environment to really go deep with that. But through therapy, I identified that it actually, my childhood was amazing. Let me put that on record. It was really good. I got everything I wanted. I got the brand new PlayStations every Christmas. I got the brand new iPads every Christmas and birthdays. But what I was lacking was that emotional connection.
Okay.
And it was something that then I repeated in all of my relationships, in fatherhood at the start, for sure. Because that's how we are, right? We kind of go off how we are taught as kids and how we're supposed to be parents then.
100%, yeah. It's weirdly, this exact thing come up in, I think, the last episode, where you are a product of your environment. And I was brought up, a mom and dad, I was the same as you. I was really lucky. Like, we didn't have everything in the world, but we also did have everything in the world. Like, I can compare to people now who, when they were younger, and they're of a different generation, but they went to Disney World for their holidays. They went to Thailand for their holidays, whereas I went to Devon and Cornwall and stayed in a caravan for a week, and it was the best. It was the best memories. And my mum and dad did everything that they could. And then when we got a bit older, we had those holidays abroad. But I had the PlayStation. I had the back then it was a stereo. You get a hi-fi unit with a tape deck and a CD. I had all those things, and it was good. But I think my dad was working a lot, and he had to work to provide, and that's what that role was. The dad would go off and he'd be out all day and he'd provide, and you wouldn't get as much time as you perhaps do nowadays. And that's why maybe I just didn't think, not that I didn't think I'd be a good dad, I just didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I had it in me. And like seeing, I think, how things were, not that my dad or my family ruled with like fear, but it was a different era, and it was very much, if I was in trouble, it was like, right, wait till your dad gets home, and then it was like, oh, I've gone too far now, and I'd hide in my room and I'd be scared. Whereas now, if Harper's mum was to say, right, well, you're in trouble, wait till daddy comes home, she'll be like, brilliant, I can't wait for daddy to come home and give me a big cuddle. Like, it's a different era, and we haven't learned how to, because we can't replicate that.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's one of the things that I do kind of bang the drum on is that men, I don't know how old you are, Dan, but men, I think between the ages of 30 and 45 right now, we're in that kind of transitional period, right?
Yep.
Where we've got the old school men don't show emotions, the old school men go to work, the woman stays at home. And I do believe that we are in that transitional period where it's difficult for the people in our age bracket to go, right, and so how do I need to be in today's world? What do I need to do? What do I say? What's the right thing to say? What's the wrong things to say? And I think that breeds confusion.
Yeah. Well, and also it's double the pressure. It's double the pressure, isn't it? Because we've got to learn a whole new way to parent, which is based on, well, let's be honest, it's based on TikTok, isn't it? It's based on what everyone's doing and what you see online, which is nothing wrong with it. But the problem with it is everyone is different. Everyone, parents different. Everyone's got a different opinion. But, so we've also got the whole, right, we've got to learn how to do it. We've also then got to have that pressure of they will replicate us. We're changing that. We are in that age bracket. You know, I'm definitely well within the 30 to 40, 45 bracket, definitely. And it's like we've got this pressure of, right, they're going to copy us and how we were as parents, I think, you know, and it's like, well, I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Loads of pressure. But I think like with my personal struggles, like I'm still like, I think it's quite important. I'm still regaining and rebuilding my relationships how I want them to be with my kids, because I wasn't the person that was there from, I deployed 9 times when I was in the military. Do you know what I mean? I was away for 3.5 years of my daughter's life in the first 7 years.
Wow. That's half. She's away for half of her life.
Yeah. But the last, obviously she's 10 now, but the last 3 years I kind of spent a year and a half down in Portsmouth working away Monday to Friday, and then the last year and a half has been absolutely amazing where we've made massive ground. Like, do you know what I mean? We've made up that ground, but there's still work to go for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely not therapy. So you was already in the military when your daughter was born, is that right?
Yeah, both of them, yeah. Yeah, okay. My eldest boy and my daughter, yeah.
Okay, so you was away. So you was in the military for 12 years, and I think there's not enough, because all you sort of see online, and I hope you don't mind me sort of talking about this, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but all you kind of see is when people come out of the military, because it's such a, you've said it there, you're away from your family, you're away from, you have a completely different support network, I get that, but then as soon as you come out, you're kind of just, it's just a different world, a world you're not used to. And while you're there, you're not with your family all the time. So like, how do you cope on a daily?
Genuinely, I think being in the military, there's different kind of people. You've got people that live in, we call it the block, but single living accommodation. It's basically like flats, like uni halls. It's amazing for some, but like you've got people that they live in married quarters, they live in houses, they've got the families there, which is amazing. And I was that person for a good few years, but obviously I was just in and out of the house on deployment after deployment.
Yeah.
But I think once you leave, like I was relatively fortunate, I believe, in that I left quite well. I left having my shit together. I hope we can swear, by the way, on this.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
But having my shit together, and I generally did. Because I'd got myself sorted before I left, and I kind of looked at the mindset work over and above qualifications, jobs, etc. I had my house, I had the family. Do you know what I mean? I had everything apart from that mindset and the income. So the first thing was mindset, and sort that out. Everything else fell into place in the end.
Okay, well that's good. So when you was in when you was in the military then, when did you know, was it bad? You said obviously quite early on you didn't feel good enough. Was that the start of it just building up for you, sort of not talking and it just becoming worse and worse, or was there something bigger that happened?
I think that was the start. That was when it started. So like some behaviour started to come out where I couldn't hold it in anymore, and I was kind of pushing people away. I know people call it self-soothing, but generally I was self-sabotaging.
Okay.
Anything that came my way that was good, my missus, my kids, I'd try and ruin it. I'd try and push everything away. I'd try and keep everything at arm's length. But I did really well in the workplace to hide it all. And I anchor it to putting my berry on in the morning. The minute I stepped out my front door and put my berry on, that was my anchor to put on that facade, to put on the confidence, to put on the bravado. And that's exactly what I did. And the deployment started to come thick and fast. And it was really good. And I didn't know it until 2023. But what I was doing with them deployments is I was teaching myself that it's okay. And I can just run away from all my problems. When things got crap at home, I could just go on a deployment, go to Uganda, go to Pakistan, go to Kenya, go to Cyprus, go to Kosovo. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. I can just go away, and it can all go away. Because I'll be confident there, because I'll just put my berry on, and that'll be it. Done. All the while where the missus has got the kids at home, she's got a full-time job. She's having to run a house. She's having to bring the kids up. She's having to look after my dog. Do you know what I mean? She's having to do all of this stuff while I'm out overseas working probably 9 till 3 in the nice baking hot heat in a not very nice country, but in a nice environment with our mates.
Yeah.
And doing something quite rewarding. But obviously with the challenges at home, with me being away, luckily Jess was amazing in that she really did keep a tight ship when I was away.
Yeah.
And she made sure that any kind of struggles or worries or pressures from home I didn't know about. But I was treating myself. It was okay to run away from my problems. Whenever things got bad, I'd just go into my boss at work and go, any deployments coming up? Where can I go next? Oh, actually, Eddie, we've got this deployment coming up to Uganda. Oh, when's that going? Oh, you're going tomorrow. Brilliant. And I thought it was amazing. I thrived off that.
It's really convenient. So I guess to escape, not dealing with your problems, but I guess dealing with your I guess mental health problems, you use that as an escape. You could just literally go on deployment just pretty much at the drop of a hat and you were gone, and then it's bottled up again until you come back, and then you've had a bit of a reset.
100% in that particular job role. Yes, I could. I was trusted. I was wanting to go away. I was probably one of the only volunteers at the time that wanted to deploy and go away, but I was putting it into my pressure cooker. Yeah, I often use that metaphor with clients, but I was pushing that down into my pressure cooker, putting that lid tightly on, leaving the valve down, and then I just parked that at home, and it'd stay in my car until I got back, and then that's when that's when it starts to bubble up again. But yeah, when I was away, it was amazing. Me and the missus got on better most of the time, apart from once when it all started to kind of unravel. But we got on. We tend to get on better when I was away. So I was like, well, why not go away? Because it gets better. I don't have to deal with these problems, this anxiety, this low mood, this depression, and you know what? Me and Jess are really good. So why not go away again? All the while, obviously, it was bubbling up for her and myself, and yeah, it got to a point where we couldn't go on in that manner anymore. I went to Cyprus. I made some bad decisions. Me and Jess split up in 2019 for the first time. And then my kind of overdrive went in, and I would come back, and then I'd deploy again. I'd come back, we'd start sorting it out. We'd go through marriage counselling. I'd deploy. 4 months later, I was back home. And then it'd be bad again. And it'd be like, oh, we've not dealt with these problems. All of these problems now, they're only exaggerating and getting bigger.
Yeah.
And I wasn't dealing with it. I was going through, that's when I started to have the suicidal thoughts and didn't want to be here. And I know people often talk about suicidal thoughts and go, well, surely your kids are enough. Surely your kids are enough to keep you, wanting to keep you here. But I know this is going on record. My kids will probably see this one day, but they're not enough. Like in that time, in that moment, like they're not enough. Yeah. Because of everything up here.
I think also I would say because I can relate to this, and again I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't. It's not necessarily that they're not enough, but it's you feel like you're not enough, that you're not enough that anyone will care.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No one would care. No one would give a shit.
Yeah.
No one would give a shit if I wasn't here. My kids certainly won't. Look at me. I'm a shit father.
Mm.
Like, why do they want me? And that wasn't enough at the time. It wasn't enough to keep me wanting to be here. So yeah, guess what happened next? I went on another deployment.
Could have guessed that.
Yeah. So in that deployment, myself and Jess actually got divorced in the end.
Okay. How long were you away for in that deployment?
That was another 6 months.
Okay.
So we got divorced. That was my decision to get divorced. I wanted it done, dusted. I wanted a clean slate because we was in and out. We both agreed it wasn't good for the kids. We were back together, then we wasn't, then we was, then we wasn't. And it was like on a weekly basis. It was confusing for the kids. So we got divorced in the end. We're back together now.
Okay.
Some people don't really understand that. But
I definitely can't. But that's, from personal.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things, and we said it, was it 2022 or 2023? We said it, is that we have to grow apart to grow back together.
Yeah. I mean, that's beautiful though. Can I just say that's beautiful? The fact that you were both mature enough to be able to say, we need to walk away from this, and then mature enough to grow independently and come back together. It's a beautiful thing, and you should be really proud of that.
I think, yeah, no, thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I think it's important, though. It's important that if I didn't do the work, if I didn't go and get that therapy, I didn't go get the support, if I didn't go get that help, that would never happen, right? I would still be that same old person, probably outside the military now as well, like I am, but I would still be that person who was an arsehole, who had low mood, who was anxious, who was depressed, who didn't want to be, who thought he was struggling as a father, who thought he was a rubbish father, who thought that he wasn't good enough. I would still be that person right now if it wasn't for getting the help, getting the support. That I was definitely the person that needed to change. I was definitely the person that needed to make the changes. And that's exactly what I did. Not for anyone else. So I think that's really important that a lot of men that are either listening or watching this later on, it's important that they don't do it for anyone else. You don't do it for your partner or that partner that's left you that's fed up of your actions or behaviours. Like, you do it for you first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that person may not still want you at the end of the day. You may have done too much damage. And you know what? I generally thought I had. But she's always said she believed in me. She knew that I wasn't a bad person, just going through a bad moment and a bad period. But
so that was all the motivation you needed then, is knowing that.
No, I wanted to do it for me. I think I needed to do it for me first and foremost. I knew I couldn't feel that way anymore, and I couldn't feel like I wasn't good enough. I couldn't keep going to the pub every night. Literally, we've got something in the military called the mess, and the minute we finished work at 5 o'clock, an hour later the mess would open.
Okay,
it used to be really cheap, £1.50 a pint. And that would be my night. I'd go down there at 6 o'clock, and that'd be me until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, just pint after pint, beer after beer.
Wow.
And there's a group of people in there for sure, and I think, I do believe there's a bit of a pandemic in the military at the moment with mental health. I'm certainly seeing it from the people that are coming through my services. I've currently got 3 people that I used to work with that are on my books at the minute that I'm helping navigate through their own struggles and experiences. But I do believe it is a pandemic within the military where it's just we'll mask it through alcohol. We'll mask it through a pint. Yeah.
Well, that's an obvious thing to do, but not that it's right or wrong. I think from an outsider, and I've had, my granddad was in the Navy.
Yeah.
But I used to hear the glorified stories, he was a different generation, and it was very much like he would have a whiskey before bed every night, and that was their thing, but it was never talked about like it is now, as in going to the mess, and that would be your day, because presumably, and I don't know this, there's probably not much else to do, and with the high pressure and the stress, well, actually drinking probably helps de-stress, but surely there's a better way. Surely because then you're just creating people that are relying on alcohol to get through their day, and then you're only going to take that back into the outside world. Is that not what would happen?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Like, and I think it's important. I'm a huge fan of going out having a few pints with your mates on a night time. Genuinely, I'm a massive fan of that.
It's the therapy, though, isn't it? It's the therapy. There's a therapy in that, in just being with your mates, being in that safe space, and you can sometimes it's not even talking about your problems, which isn't, the whole point of this pod is that we do talk about our problems, but when you're with your mates, you kind of feel like you can just be yourself, you can have a laugh, and you know what? Everything's fine because you've got your mates around you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. And I do think that men in particular, after a couple of pints, we do tend to kind of let our barriers down. We do start to talk, right? But I just think that if it becomes a habit, if it becomes a regular occurrence, 5, 6, 7 nights a week, for example, and that's every single night, I think that's when we need to probably harness it and look at, why am I doing this? What's the reason why I'm doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I guess the accountability is with yourselves when you're on deployment or wherever you are and the mess opens and you go in there. That's on you to make that decision to go in there and have those drinks. But I don't know, obviously I'm not in that situation, so I don't want to come across like, because I'm not judging it by any means and I can completely understand it, but it's kind of like, why do they put it there and make it so easy for you, especially make it so cheap and easy for you?
It's an old tradition. I think it's a really old tradition. That's just kind of stuck, and it's a really good thing for camaraderie, for collaboration, for morale. It's having that mess there, but I do believe it's a really, really easy thing to get hooked into very quickly. It's one of the things that I did. And when people started to notice that I was drinking too heavily in the mess, I used to just go to the shop and get a bottle of vodka and go sit in my room, and that's what people start doing in the end.
So either way, I guess it doesn't matter if they take the mess away. You're going to find a way. If it's helping with your problems, you're going to find a way to do it, aren't you?
But I think military or not, military or general civilian society, I think that's what we're going to do anyway, right?
100%.
I mean, I've been out now for about a year and a half, and absolutely, that's what people do in the real world. I like to call it is that it's probably even bigger. Is the drinking culture in general civilian population?
Yeah,
because that's our de-stress. There's other stresses within the civilian working environment as well that people need to deal with, and often that is going down for a few pints on a Thursday night.
Yeah. Okay, so look, going back to your time in the military, then when you were dealing with anxiety, depression, the suicidal thoughts. How much of a problem did that become, and when did you kind of notice that it was a problem?
So nobody at work knew at all, and actually it got bad when I was in Portsmouth working there Monday to Friday. I couldn't run away anymore. Like I was in a role where I couldn't deploy, I couldn't go anywhere. I was kind of fixed into the UK, into that particular role, which was a really good role. I was teaching military police people on their promotional courses to progress. Amazing role. But I couldn't deploy. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't run away.
And that was your escape. That was your escape before, wasn't it? So you've lost that completely, and you've got to just deal with it. You've got to sit in it and feel your emotions without having the escape.
Yeah, no, I just end up being a horrible person. A horrible person to the missus, to Jess, a horrible person just to be around. I wasn't a nice person. But it got to a point where I remember drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was back home on a weekend, on a Saturday morning, drinking vodka orange in my back garden at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, if that wasn't an indication, like there's something wrong there, right? So I end up finishing that vodka off. Jess went out with the kids. It was at a point where we wasn't completely together at the time, and she took the kids to her families for a day, and it was all prearranged. That was fine. And I thought, you know what? I'll have a barbecue by myself. I'll go get a few beers. I'll have a barbecue by myself. So I went to the shop, bought a few crates, just a smaller crates, and some WKD extra.
Oh, reliving the childhood there.
Absolutely, yeah. By about 3 o'clock, like, it was all gone. And I just remember sitting at my dining table, smoking, absolutely steaming, drunk. And I was like, well, what can I do now? I know what I'll do. I'll go get some more beer. And that's what I did. I went to the shop again, got some more beer, got back. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to be here. I ain't fucking doing this anymore. Like, what's the point? What am I living for? Look at me. I'm an absolute failure. I'm sat here 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon, not watching the football, not with my kids, not with my family. I'm sat here absolutely off my head for no reason whatsoever. Like, you're a failure. And at this point, I was going through therapy, and I was about 6 months deep into therapy at the time. But there's probably another thing to touch on if we've got time anyway.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what, fuck it. We had some rope in the back garden. I'd known how to set up a noose. I'd known how to do that from my time in the military, because we'd have to assist people and getting them down after their either attempts or their successes in committing suicide. So I knew how those made. I knew how to do them, and that's what I did. And I set one up. And I remember sat on the edge of my bed, bawling my eyes out, crying, because I knew that this is my time. I knew this is what I want to do. And it got to, I think it was around 6:00-ish that day, and the key went in the door, and it was Jess and the kids, and I was angry, like genuinely angry, because they'd come back, because I was here.
You're ready. You're ready.
Yeah, absolutely steaming. Like, I think I need to make it clear. I don't know if I would have gone ahead of it. Genuinely, I don't. I don't know if I was too drunk at the time. I don't know if I'd have been successful. I don't know if I'd have had the balls to do it in the end. And I know that's quite contentious, but I do think it takes balls to commit or to be successful in attempting suicide. But I was angry at the time, because, like, fuck, my kids are now going to see me in this state. My missus is going to see me in this state. What the hell am I going to do? And I was angry all night. But I made that choice the next morning when I got up, and I felt shit. I felt awful. I regretted what I did. I regretted that. And I knew that from that moment onwards, that was when I was going to push forward. That was when I was going to really double down on the therapy and make sure that I actually made a success of my life, rather than just let it go to waste.
Wow. I mean, what a moment. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that obviously you didn't go through with it. I'm sure everyone in your life is, and you could have so easily become just a statistic in that moment. But yeah, I just did you tell Jess? Did she know did she find the noose? Was there a conversation about it, or did you hide everything away? And
no, of course it was there. I was too drunk to do anything with it. I mean, if I was going to start clambering around trying to get it down, she would have heard the bang anyway.
Yeah.
So I came straight downstairs. But I was going through that therapy at the time. And I always say, the therapist that I had, I'm still in contact with him today. I think it's really important that you have maintenance therapy, for sure. And that's even myself as a hypnotherapist. But I was going through therapy at the time. Every kind of 4 to 6 weeks, I'd have a session. And all I would do is I'd put the onus onto the therapist. I think it's his job. I'm paying him money. Like, he's got to do the change for me. So any kind of homework activities, action steps that I have to take, all I'd do is I'd do them the night before, and then I'd hand them into him. Oh, yeah, done that, mate. Easy. But I wasn't doing anything with my life. Do you know what I mean? I'd go to him for that nice hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be. And I'd come out feeling amazing. And then I'd just be back to my normal self.
Yeah.
So that's why I work quite, I wouldn't say harshly with my clients, but I keep on top of it.
Yeah.
Making sure that they're doing the efforts. And it was only a couple of weeks ago, I said to one of them, listen, like, you're not doing the work. Like, I can't do this for you. Like, we can either work together and we work together, or we go our separate ways and you go find somebody else. Because I'm not the person for you. But
that's good, because you obviously care. Like, so many people in that situation could very easily just think, oh, well, fuck it, they've not done the work, but so what? I'm doing my bit. I've said what I've needed to say if they don't listen. But you actually clearly care. And the fact that you're able to kind of stand there and be like, you're not doing the work, proves that you want them to be successful. But probably because you've been in a situation where you did hit rock bottom and you know what that looks like, and you want to kind of help people get to the other side of that, presumably.
I always say the breakthrough is in the breakdown, but I really want men not to go to that breakdown. I don't want us to get to that breakdown. I think there's signs, there's behaviors that we can kind of latch onto early doors.
Yeah.
Before it gets anywhere further than what it needs to be. But I think men and people, the general population, need to realize that life isn't going to be happy roses all day, every single day. There is an up and down to life.
Yeah.
But it's about how we manage it.
Yeah. I think that's why it's important to spread these kind of messages, though, is to share stories like yours, because the internet, and listen, I love, not the internet necessarily, I love social media. Social media has done incredible things for me, highs and the lows. But the problem with it is very much this glamorous lifestyle. You see 20-year-olds with Lamborghinis, and the fact is it's not reality. So you need to balance it with, yeah, you can maybe have that lifestyle, that's incredible, but even these people, there are podcasts that you can watch where there's millionaires, billionaires, CEOs of big companies. They still have struggles. They might be flying helicopters to different countries. We're still people. You still have feelings. You still are going to be sad about stuff, and you're still going to be affected by stuff. And I think unless we talk about it more and educate, then things aren't going to change.
100%. And I think it is that educational stuff, which is why I jumped at the chance when I realised that you was doing this, because there's a lot of men in your audience, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of men, brave men, either speaking out or just watching, listening along. Like, that's the first step for most, is watching, listening along to podcasts, to things, to books, to ebooks, to audiobooks, whatever that may be. Like, that's the first step.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. And I'm going to say, I don't think talking helps. I think talking is the first step, because it shows massive courage to do that first and foremost. And that's kind of my only kind of, the biggest bit of advice I'd give people is to find that one person that you can talk to, that you can generally trust.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just turned my mic down because I realised that I could hear the lawnmower, and it's someone outside my house that's just decided to do that now. But yeah, I completely agree. It's talking that is the first step. And I've had messages I've got loads of people that want to come on. I've had loads of people that have come on, and they're all at different stages of their journey. But I've had a lot of people that have said, look, I would love to come on, but my goal is to get to a point where I can talk. But at the moment, I can't. But even the fact that they're there, and I know they're listening, sometimes that is just enough. Just to know, okay, look, it's not just one episode where someone's had one struggle and they're now doing brilliantly. We're now, you're number 12, I think, and we've got another 15 booked already, and I've got emails coming in every day. There's people that want to share their story, and they want to be able to, like you want to help other people and relate, so they can relate to you. That's what is going to help. That's what helped me when I was at my lowest. It wasn't, seeing that there's, billionaires that are struggling. Like, I get it, everyone has their struggles, but it was the real people. It was real people that I could personally relate to, that have been through the same situation as me. Because, funny enough, I said this in my intro, it's like something bad happens to you. Like, to me, it was the end of my world. Like, I was so selfish because no one and nothing else mattered. It was like, this, I can't believe this has happened to me. It's like childlike behaviour where I was kicking out, becoming a worse version of myself. And funny enough, you touched on it earlier, and which I wasn't going to say anything, but what you said about you got help for yourself because you decided, right, that's I need to do that now. You've hit that point. And I think I had so many opportunities where I could have helped myself, and I just didn't. And I think my situation could be so much different now if I'd have just walked away, and if I'd have just walked away and been like, right, I'm going to go. And I did get therapy. I went to a therapist, and I think my story is probably slightly different to yours. I didn't. Yeah. I did sort of get stuff from the therapist, and nothing against them, but I just ended up feeling like I'm paying a lot of money and then just agreeing with everything that I'm saying and validating everything I'm saying. It's like, well, that's not what I need. I need someone to say, right, Dan, snap out of it. Like, yes, you feel that way, but how do we move forward? And I just didn't feel like I was getting that. I was just getting it all off my chest. And it was very much like, yeah, you're right to feel like that. And as much as, I probably was right to feel like that in some respect, I was also right to be like, right, snap out of it and move forward. And my problem was I just didn't do anything. I didn't do anything really about it. And I just buried myself and buried my head in the ground, didn't deal with it. And it made everything 10 times worse. And then I ended up becoming, not towards everyone, but like bitter and angry, resentful, just all the things. And you get to a point where that's why it's so lovely to know that you worked on yourself and you two were able to rekindle and make it work. Because not many people, that doesn't happen for a lot of people. And especially when there's kids involved, I think it's beautiful that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, I think, no, people don't understand it. I've said to people before, yeah, me and Jess divorced, we're back together. What? Like, I'm not asking people to understand it. Do you know what I mean? It's not their lives. Like, they don't walk in my shoes.
It's not something you hear every day, though, is it? It's not something you hear someone say every day as like a, yeah, we got divorced, now we're back together. It's not an everyday story.
Maybe in 10, 20 years down the line, but not within a year, kind of 6 months to a year period. Do you know what I mean? But no, like, I think I'm thankful every day for that. I'm thankful for the opportunities that we get, like, as a family, like, and it's not all perfect. I mean, it's a normal relationship, but I think you have to be selfish. I know people don't like that, don't like being selfish, but you have to be selfish to be selfless. In the end, you have to put yourself, if you are a man or a woman struggling and struggling to push through them boundaries. But I think you're right. There's a lot of really good therapists out there. There are a lot of not so good ones. Pick one that's going to challenge you. Don't pick one that's just going to go along with you.
Yeah.
But pick one that's going to challenge you in the way that you want them to be challenged, or you want to be challenged. Sorry.
But I think it's finding one that fits. That's what I was told a lot. It's about something, and I just sort of tried. I was already, and this is, I don't think I've ever shared this, but I was already kind of, I was told a couple of times, you should go and see a therapist. And I never did. This was when I was, before I was even, we were even married, to be fair. It was go and talk to a therapist. And I never did. And it wasn't because I didn't want to work on myself, because I didn't really think there was a problem. I just thought it was the growing pains of life and a family, and having to pay for a wedding, having to pay for holidays and this and that, and just everything. And it was, for me, it was like, oh, that's going to cost however much a week, which means this amount every month. But that's money that my girls won't get. So won't do that. I'll put myself bottom of the pile. And yeah, and then it kind of just, well, now we are where we are. It's then what happened. I didn't get the help, but it's kind of like, yeah, I probably should have. And I was put in front of a therapist. Like, that was like one part of it. The second part of it was then there was the breakup, and it was like, right, I've booked therapy, and I was like sat in front of a therapist within days.
Yeah,
which wasn't to fix what had broken. It was to kind of, I don't know, it felt like I just had to sit there, and I just cried the whole time, because I had to just tell this stranger, well, my marriage has failed and this is what's happened and I don't know what I'm doing. And it was, I think my ex just wanted closure, right, that this is it now, done, get it out, and then we can move on. And it was so like, put me so much further back inside myself, because I was like, it was just terrifying. I was just already so vulnerable and so lonely and so isolated. And I was sat there on this couch with this stranger, having to tell like the worst possible thing that's ever happened to me. And I've never been to a therapist, so I didn't know what to expect, what anything. And it just made me think, I'm never doing that again. I'm never putting myself in that situation again. And it took me a long time to then, on my own, decide, right, I'm going to go and see a therapist. And I talked to a couple, but I landed, the one I ended up with, she was really good. It just got to a point, like I said, where I just felt like I was just being validated every week and I was paying like anyone could. I don't need to pay however much it was.
Yeah.
I could just sit in the mirror and tell you. I could tell myself, yeah, you're right, you're brilliant, you've done nothing wrong, and I've saved myself that money.
Yeah, I think that's it. Though I think if you are gonna get support, you are gonna get a therapist. Is take that time. Is take that time with it. Don't just jump into the first one. I think I was about 3. I took sessions with 2 other therapists before. I kind of settled with the one that put me into a suicidal thoughts, but he was the best one. Do you know what I mean? He was good at what he does, and like I said, I'm still in contact with him right now, like today, and it's good being on the same kind of side of the therapy chair, the therapy line, if you get me. But
well, let's talk about that then, AD. So you've now come out of the other side of, you've been at the low of literally sitting there drunk, completely steaming drunk with a noose, thinking this is the end of my road, to now you help people. You are obviously a hypnotherapist, but what else was it that you do? So you're a mindset coach and a hypnotherapist.
Yeah, so in literally the day after it all went wrong, I booked myself onto an NLP course, a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner's course. And if I'm honest, it wasn't to do any of this right now. Even up until January, February last year, I never intended to be self-employed or doing this as a business and helping people. Mine was leave the military and get a job and live happily ever after. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to do the NLP course. It sounds like something that I'm interested in, and I probably understand my own brain a little bit better as well. I had all the preconceptions about hypnotherapy as well, being like, I'm going to be cooking like a chicken, be singing at the top of my lungs in the middle of this classroom. It's nothing like that. I ended up then going on to do a bit of CPD and retraining as a content-free hypnotherapist and doing a bit of kinetic shift with someone who is ex-military and ex-police. We kind of clicked quite well, and he's someone that I followed for years, and he was always someone that I wanted to have a session with. He was just expensive. So I thought, you know what, I'll train with him instead. I'll get the best.
Smart.
I'll get the best of both worlds. So yeah, I never intended to do any of this. It kind of just fell into my lap. And last May, I thought, you know what, excuse the pun, but I'm just going to come out. I'm going to come out of my story, because if it just helps one person, I've done my job. Then I can go back into my 9 to 5, do what I need to do. But since then, I've seen over 50 people, and I've helped them navigate from the military and police kind of backgrounds mostly. But I've helped them navigate anxiety, depression, trauma, post-trauma, going through misconduct offences. And I've been really fortunate to make them connections along the way. I predominantly work with men. It's not that I won't work with women, but they're not. I've never been a woman, so I don't know how they think and feel. And I'm kind of a massive advocate, similar to yourself, in helping men really push through them boundaries and drop the mask and know that it's okay to be vulnerable for a second and for a little bit, just to really sit with them feelings, sit with them emotions, understand why we think and feel that way, but then push forward. And the most important part is that pushing forward, because you can't change the past, but you can shape your future.
Yeah, that's a powerful message. I hear that a lot, actually. It's I think it's easier said than done, but it's definitely a powerful message. But I think, yeah, once you realise, and again, this is something that for a lot of people, once they get not control of their mental health, but once they understand it a bit more, it's easier to do that. But I think it's really difficult to do that without talking to someone like yourself who can help you understand that. So is it predominantly then military and service men and women?
They're most of my clients, but I think that's because they know my directness. They know my past. They know my kind of training. They know what I've probably experienced throughout my time in the military. They know how I talk. I can talk to them in their language. And I love working with ex-military. Like, I've got some friends that I'm working with at the minute. I know people say you should never work with friends, but some friends and there's one person that I've actually got as a client who I was nervous about putting myself out there because I was scared about what they was going to say. Okay. Now it's starting to have a role reversal 360. They're now a client of mine, which is amazing.
Wow.
And I think that's it. It's about, for me, it's the best thing I've done. I said one person. We're over 50 now, and hopefully many, many more to come.
Well, that's incredible.
Not from a point of I want people to be suffering, I want people to be struggling, but people are going to suffer, people are going to struggle. So why not be that person to help them?
Well, we need more people like you, AD. I think, you know, the fact that you're there and you clearly care, you've been through it, which, again, the fact that you've been through it, you've lived it, especially from a military aspect, you know what some of these people would have gone through. For some, obviously, it's worse than others. But I mean, even just to, you know, I don't want to go back into the sort of heavy stuff, but just to touch on it, when you was in the military and you said you know how a noose works, it's like because you had to see the failed or the successful attempts, like that alone that must just, maybe not in that moment, I mean, even for me in that moment, that would just shock me to my core. And for, I think, most normal people, that would just shock them. Well, you wouldn't know how to process that, but you've had to probably do that over and over and over again. And that must weigh on you.
Yeah, I think you've learned how to deal with things. Like, I didn't do it a lot. It got to a point where I was kind of leading, managing, supervising people that were doing it on a daily basis. So it was a massive kind of consideration for myself in how it affects them.
Okay.
100%. In the end, it was much more of a supervision, managing their welfare, etc. But yeah, I've certainly seen it one or two times.
Yeah, but I guess the fact that you've had that experience in the managing and being there as a support for those people that have had to deal with that,
yeah,
it's given you great experience for what you're doing now in helping people. Because that's, from my point of view, that's the most extreme thing that can happen to a person, to witness that. And I'm sure there's, maybe for some people there are worse things, and if you're in the military you are probably trained and there's a lot of support around that. But for anyone outside of the military, my mind is like, that's the worst possible thing I could have to see and have to deal with. So to have someone like you who's been there and been a support to someone that's dealt with those kind of things is a huge, like, hugely powerful tool for you to be able to use to help people.
Yeah, so many that kind of soft skills and other kind of skills that you get from being in the military. It's not all firing guns and being in war zones, being in kinetic areas. It's much more a soft approach now. But there is obviously the realism of life in the military, and that does go on. I'm not going to say monthly at the moment, but definitely every few months you see a new person that has looked at that as their only way out and has been successful in that. But yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
For people.
Do you think there's, and this is something you might not want to answer or mightn't, you know, this is going to be opinions, but do you think that there is enough support? Because this is one of the things that you do see a lot, is when men and women come out of the armed forces or the military, they struggle. Do you think there is enough support, especially on the mental health side of things, for people?
I don't know about just the military, but I don't think there's enough support on a societal level. I think there's too much of a waiting timings with the NHS currently. From my experience, leaving the military and resettling back into the real world, not a massive amount. If I'm completely honest, there's not a massive amount of support from in service. But there are a lot of amazing organisations out there that are supporting people, actively supporting people as well.
Yeah,
not just putting it on their website or putting it on their social media for clout and for likes. Like, they're genuinely, and I'm looking to work with one of them soon, but they're genuinely putting themselves out there, putting themselves at the forefront, which is great.
Yeah, I think there's so many amazing support clubs, networks, charities. I've had the honour of speaking to a couple of guys from Andy's Man Club. I don't know if you've heard of them, but yeah, they do some great work. Obviously, it's a men's suicide prevention charity.
Yeah,
there was Angels United, who are for dads who have lost children, during labour, because there's not enough support around that for men. There's a lot for women, and there's loads of there's so many different clubs. And the problem is, most people, I didn't know about any of these until I was in a situation where I needed them. And I think actually sometimes it's past the point of it's sort of too late for a lot of men. And I think if we can get the word out and talk about these great clubs and the work that they do, it can really help. It can save a life. Quite simply, it can save a life.
Yeah, I think taking a proactive approach rather than reactive approach is essential, isn't it? Instead of waiting until it gets too late, or potentially it's never too late, but potentially later on down the line, try and be more proactive and nip it in the bud and trying to intervene earlier on.
But I think you're a great advocate for change, for self-change, because you've been able to get to a point where yes, I know you went through it and you had these kind of years at a point where you was really clearly really struggling, but you made that decision that, right, I'm changing myself. And I think with even all these great clubs out there, it's, unless you want it, you're not going to do it. You've got to take personal responsibility. You have to take that. You have to take that self ownership in pushing forward. We're not going to do it for each other. You can lead a horse with water, but you can't make it drink it. Yeah. I think you need to do it for yourself. Well said. Well, look, Adi, I really, really appreciate your time. The one thing I always ask before we finish, because obviously these podcasts can be quite heavy, we talk about a lot of tough topics, I like to end on something like a little bit more of a lighter note. So I always ask for either, if you've got like your favourite joke or something really funny that's happened to you in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, just something that we can end the podcast on a little bit lighter. You put me right on the spot, yeah. I love doing this. My favourite part. This is the only reason I do the podcast. Do you know what? I don't actually have anything. I can't think of a joke right now. What about something fun? There is a cop-out. What about something that sort of made you laugh recently? Something maybe one of your kids has done, or... I'll tell you what. No, it did. We was doing it was a few weeks back now, and we was at this family fit session, and I'd just bought some new shorts for the gym, and I was there doing my squats. It was a nice family atmosphere, family environment. I was doing my squats, and I just heard this rip, and it was like all the back of my shorts had ripped with my arse on show. So yeah, that was pretty embarrassing, but it's funny at the same time. Well, I'm glad you saw the lighter side of it. That's brilliant. I love that. So many embarrassing things like that have happened to me. So I'm glad it's not just me that those things happen to. Not just you, man. Incredible. Adi, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being so open and honest. Hopefully we can stay in touch, keep doing the great work that you're doing. And yeah, thank you again, mate. No, I appreciate it, mate. Thank you. No worries. Take care. It's definitely not therapy. What a guy. Really open, which I loved, the fact that he could be so open, so vulnerable. I think for me, yeah, it's the working on yourself, which I'll be honest, I didn't do as much as I should have, and I probably could have, but I didn't. So this is your reminder that if you're in that situation and you're struggling, do something about it. If it's working on yourself, work on yourself. Go and book that therapy session, call the NHS, call a friend, just do something and take that first step. Adi did, and he's in a great situation now. He went full circle, divorced from his wife and away from his family, using deployments as an escapism, to being a family man, back with his family, back with his wife. And I think he's a great advocate for what can be if you really do want it enough. That's it for this episode of Definitely Not Therapy. And if you cried, laughed, smiled, or just felt slightly uncomfortable, then we've done our job. Make sure to follow, subscribe, leave a review if you can, and perhaps share this with someone who feels alone right now, because that might make them just feel less alone. There's someone else going through the same thing as them. Whatever your story might be, whether it's co-parenting issues, divorce, breakups, heartbreak, anything that goes unspoken, things that you feel like you can't talk about, come and talk to me about them. Let's help to spread some awareness. All you need to do is email me at onlydanlawrence@gmail.com or DM me on any of my social media platforms. Dan Lawrence on Facebook, Dan Lawrence Comedy on Instagram, or Definitely Not Therapy Pod on Instagram. I'm Dan Lawrence, and I'll see you next time.